Hi guys, this is Alan, and it's been a while since I've done an actual stream and talking about target individuals, which I am one. For those of you who are new to it, I've got other videos on the subject of targeted individuals, and with things such as V2K, voice to skull technology, direct energy weapons or DEWs. Um, and those are in essence like little shots of energy that just little shots of energy that come up and just like give you a vibration and just is a painful shock to your system, whether it's almost like a headache or in my case it's a side pain like in the side in the a side pain, a chronic side pain. A lot of people kind of get that stuff, and or they can do electronic jolts to your stomach, your leg, arm, and then suddenly you'll be relaxed. And then out of the blue, you'll notice that your leg will start um, just like somebody jabs it real quickly, or a quick little, just like a shaking. And that's where you get kind of a jolt. V2K is where you have for some people, it's a constant two voices, three voices, um, so that it's just people talking to you using a wireless technology that hasn't been, you know, its confidentiality has not been declassified. It's a government run project for the last 20 to 40 years. It's been known about on the internet, but the government has not yet officially declassified it, because what they're really hoping is that by the time it does get declassified, enough people will have already died so that they won't take too much of a beating as far as their reputation. Now, there's already been a big beating as far as V2K, in which President Bill Clinton had already apologized for in '95, and apologizing for the government using its own citizens as target practice for our own military, um, to check out to see what works on people, um, so that if there ever came to warfare, we could use it, or our government can use its military and use this on other countries. And they sell this technology to our own allies, the government's allies, whether in Canada, Great Britain, um, some in Mexico, Japan, and they can use it on their own people. And as weird as it sounds, I just encourage you to look this stuff up. And there's enough stuff from Japan, Canada, just all around, and how their governments have been doing it to their own people. Also, I'm talking about this at the time when we're having a pandemic. And one of the weird things about it is that the pandemic is happening. One of the people in charge is Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is or was at the National Institutes of Health. It's now run by Francis Collins, who helped decipher the Human Genome Project, about 15, 20 years ago, in competition with Greg Venter. And Collins got there first into deciphering the letters of the alphabet of the human genome. Um, but anyway, back to the targeted individual stuff, and the pandemic. The thing is, you can look up on bioethics.gov. It's supposed to be there, 9 hours of it, where Dr. Amy Goodman from the University of Pennsylvania and about 12 other people are in charge of looking into the mystery to see it. They're trying to investigate to investigate the claims of targeted individuals to see if there's something to it, evidence for it, to crack down, to see what kind of uh, bioethical, um, using people as guinea pigs, in essence. Are people being used and tormented and tortured as a form of guinea pigs to see and test out what kind of technology is actually being used on people? And if you are a targeted individual, you have no problem saying it. What you're experiencing. And the problem is that the government actually made this technology for the express purpose and in such a way so that when you describe what is happening to you, it's hard, if not impossible, to not come across as if you're sounding nuts. Hearing voices. If you're hearing voices, they're literally going down the line, checking boxes of what they think crazy people will say. Hearing voices, it seems like anything with an electronic, digital, TV, radio, it sounds like they're talking to you or directing things um, objectively to you. As crazy as it sounds, and it's okay to have a laugh at it because it is so ironic. It's crazy funny. It sounds nutty. But they are doing this so that when somebody in town, sheriff, police, whatever, somebody in town. Now I'm saying this as a person who has never gotten in trouble, never had an enemy in my small town of Dallas, Oregon. They were pretty good to me. So why they would, or I was part of it, I had no idea. But the one thing I know I did have was for about 30 years a constant repetitive pain, chronic pain on my left side here. And no matter what I did, it was chronic and it was always there. So I always had pain meds. And it started about when I was about 13 or so. And it would come on and go off sometime. And then I would just get this repetitive stress and pain. And I just figured that's what it was, stress. But I would get this feeling like a rumbling on my side of pain. Just a constant just boom. And it was come and go, but then over time it just permanently became a chronic position, a chronic pain. And the thing is that for 30 years, and I've been treated, and I always thought that I had good doctors and everything that helped me with it, but I had no idea of anything called targeted individuals. I wasn't treated bad by police or anybody in Dallas or hometown, nothing. I had good people, and I didn't have any enemies whatsoever, except my own brother, who I went over and helped in every way possible. But then suddenly I started having this weird thing about hearing a voice coming through the wall or from underneath. My bedroom is upstairs above a garage, and I could hear somebody, a guy and a girl, yapping like adults, saying, "Why doesn't he come down here? We know that he knows we're down here talking about him. Why doesn't he come down here?" And I thought, this is crazy. I didn't know my neighbors, but they were trying to get me to come down there, which is their property. In the garage was their property. So I wasn't going to open the door, and I didn't even know their first name. Anyway, it was a gimmick to try to get me to go down there. And I didn't ever hear of V2K, or targeted individuals. I just knew somebody was fucking with me. And then I'd go outside, get a little bit stressed, go out and have a cigarette in the backyard, and I could hear this camera shutter just click, 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 click. And then I asked my brother, who I was living with, Dale, at the time, I would look and say, "Look at my computer. Why does it say on the Wi-Fi FBI surveillance van?" And that's what it said on the Wi-Fi FBI surveillance van. I asked my brother Dale, why, what's that? Isn't that illegal to impersonate an officer of any kind? And Dale's like, "Oh, no, that's nothing." And around at this time, our house apartment duplex was had new owners, and then people were coming in looking at the house like they were going to buy it, potentially buy it. And I didn't even know at the time. I thought something was weird about it because the whole thing, all of the stuff that was happening was weird. But it seemed strange. All these guys that were the younger ones that were like 40, 50 years old, they they looked kind of clean cut, like a conservative, like what you imagine a cop would look like, a very conservative, clean cut look. Athletic to some degree, but you didn't know what was going on. You just knew that for whatever reason, and then you go to work, and then people are holding up their phones and saying things um, as if directly only you would know about, as if it's directed to you, and it's like something that only you would know in the privacy of your own mind that you saw or were thinking about, and then complete strangers or people you work with are discussing it, even if you kept it very quiet and private to yourself. So this was, and again, I didn't know or ever hear of targeted individuals, but this was something that they do on a lot of people. And the thing is, it's a couple outcomes that once you find out what you're going through and have heard of targeted individuals, and then V2K and electric jolts of energy suddenly shooting you, you don't realize what's going on. And if you are having a hard time understanding this or believing that this is real, don't feel bad. It seems too weird at first. But then if you look on bioethics.gov or James Lico, Lico, or 131 Kimber, or 2012 targeted individuals, you will find the White House had two symposiums of targeted individuals, and headed by Amy Goodman and 12 other people. One of the other people who was the chair of this bioethics meeting symposium, started by President Obama in 2009, but the symposium was in 2011 and 2012, was a lady by the name of Dr. Christine Grady. Now, you may not have heard of her, but she happens to be the current and still wife of 30 years to one Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, her name is not, she doesn't go by Dr. Christine Grady Fauci. It's Dr. Christine Grady, so if you haven't heard of, but anyway, she was one of the 12, and she's the chair of the Bioethics Department Commission, the Commission of Bioethics that President Obama has put together from 2009 to 2017. January 15th or 20th, it disbanded 5 days or 6 days before President Trump took office. So when Trump came in, the bioethics the people who looked into targeted individuals for the White House disbanded, and as far as I know, has not been put back together. But one of the main people again was Dr. Christine Grady. You can Google her, type her, look her up. She's got a degree, I believe, from she's a Georgetown, I believe, but she is the wife. If she's a brilliant doctor, a degree in bioethics and philosophy, but she's been placed in charge by President Obama and was involved with the two symposiums on investigating and interviewing people like me who are called targeted individuals, and there's thousands of us. And you can look online for target individuals. If you want, you can look up Ella Free, and she has a podcast that interviews targeted individuals. And so does Frank Allen. Frank Allen, or Targeted in Massachusetts. Romola D has a podcast. But in 2017, there's the Hope and Unity Conference that started a yearly get together of targeted individuals. And in 2017, it happened first time. I think it was 2018. I'm sorry. And then 2019, the second annual one was in Sacramento. The first one was probably 2017, 2018 was in Sacramento. 2019 last year was in here in Portland, Oregon, about an hour from here. So that was nice for me. And the thing I do know is that it seems that Dr. Fauci, the brilliant scientist, part of the started looking into trying to solve or cure AIDS in the 80s. But anyway, he's been tackled with trying to get to the bottom of this pandemic, what some people would call plandemic, and I'll leave that up to you for that. But the thing is that he's been in charge of trying to tell us good information. Him and the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, who normally would be the ones to tackle this stuff, but they've been kind of not very present or not there. We haven't seen too much or heard from them. Anyway, we've been getting mixed messages. The whole country has, the world has, on even issues. Do we wear masks? Should we wear masks? Um, and it seems at times like the information we're getting for this is more like a CIA psyop of information and disinformation. And it seems to be stretched out every week, another controversy, every month, another controversy. China, back and forth, left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, um, right versus left. What did Trump do? What is Biden doing? This whole thing is this time, buying more time and more time and more time and more confusion. And that seems to be the whole process. And it's very similar with what the target individuals, we're used to it because we keep on hearing something that's going to happen in Europe. There's a doctor, doctors in some doctors in Europe that have been trying to get to the bottom of it. But then we hear a promise here or a promise there. Now, they've already been to the White House. So the White House, President Obama already knows about it. It's not a secret to them, but we're trying to get the everyday people to know about it. That our government, our own government. And what happens is that when this happens to you, you start wondering and start feeling maybe guilt. Like, what did I do? Why are people treating me shitty for no reason? And they start looking in their past, like, did I do something bad? Now, for some people, maybe they did. But I know as a person who studied in just religion and ethics and having scrupulosity, I know that I've never hurt anybody. I just never have done anything. Not only, I just have never, there's nothing, people will get this and they'll feel guilty as shit, like, and not know why. Who did I hurt? And they'll feel guilt, or they know people hate them or are treating them like shit. So some have killed themselves. Some people have actually gone and are buried and are dead and have killed themselves because of how they were treated by the people in their own little towns or big cities or their family, and are now buried, and they had no idea why people were treating them shitty. And I almost fell victim to it myself. I had to fell out a window and I broke my leg and my arms, both arms, and I had to learn to walk again because they were doing this piping in this V2K. At that time, it was just going through downstairs. Um, it wasn't in the head yet, as far as that type of a sound. And I don't mean like psychotic in the head, like hearing voices as a mental illness. I mean, it's just a technology that they are using to mimic, purposely and intentionally mimic a mental illness, so that when you complain about it, it's to make sure that something bad happens to you. People will dislike you, even if they think it's just a joke. Somebody from the government, sheriff, police, have started bad rumors or told people to treat you like this, treat you shitty. And even if you come from a religious town, a Christian town, or go to church, they will reach out to the people in your church. And if you're raised conservative, evangelical, or Catholic, a lot of people in these towns, if a policeman or somebody from City Hall calls them and asks them, hey, do us a favor, do this to this person did this, or we're trying to play a joke on somebody, or the person will go along. more times than not, a person in a church, or if they're conservative Fox News watchers, will think, well, they're police or law enforcement or city hall. They wouldn't ask me to do something bad or evil or against the law, so sure, they'll play along. And they will have no idea that they are stressed, that the police are intentionally, and city halls intentionally trying to um, torture a person mentally, psychologically, to go along with a federal program. This is a federal program that goes from the top, and it is being done by what they call the fusion centers. And every big city, or at least capital, has one in every state. It's a conglomeration of federal, FBI, local police, law enforcement, and they're trying to get together to work to see what they're trying out new technology and using people as guinea pigs, using normally people that are poor, who might have a maybe are good, who have not started a lot of shit. But in my case, I think they've just experimented with some of us for 20 or 30 years and are trying, like with me, I am, whether it's an actual, forgive the term, but I don't know what else to say, a medical device or an implant, um, as a torture device to see if it works. Now, I've gone through 30 years of pain on my side. None of my, and I was sent to specialist. So my primary in my small town um, tried to do the right thing in that sense, but I always had a constant chronic pain and this rumbling pain, and that didn't really go away. And I never heard of direct energy weapons, DEWs, or I just never heard of it. But it wasn't until in 20, 30 years of pain medication, at least I was thankful for that. But this is not just me; it's happening to other people. And when the V2K and the voice to skull occurred, and I found other people this was happening, and this is after I went to the hospital in Salem and jumped out, fell out of a window. I had to learn to walk again, and then the V2K, and it's like somebody's fucking with me, and I had never hurt anybody in my whole life. And they have remote neural monitoring, which is you can hear them, and you don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything about a TV show or a memory, and you can hear these two people describing what your memory is. They can actually, it sounds crazy, but they have a screen, a computer screen, where they can read your thoughts. Now, we know from 2020 and other investigative journalist programs that they are working on this technology with doctors like Dr. Russell Targ, and people who are trying to work on ESP. Stanford was a big school that was trying to work on psychic phenomena or ESP telepathy. And Russell Targ even mentions trying to make an ESP machine. Well, they've made one, but they just haven't told the public about it. They've made a telepathy ESP machine, and we've got, for a lot of us, we can hear the two people, one or two people that are constantly yapping, describing for us what we're thinking, even if we don't say a word about it. So it's a torture thing, knowing that, and if they feel like it, they can push a button and then a jolt. That's my issue. Some people get burns. Um, some people have an issue of burns, sleep deprivation. They wake you up in the middle of the night. Um, Sometimes for some women, it's almost like a rape scenario in the middle of the night. They wake up and feel like they were molested. And sometimes they get jolts in their feet, painful, some in their heel and feet. And that sounds strange too, but this is a real phenomenon that is happening. And I was always a skeptic. And it just because things that never happened to me, and I felt like, well, it could be the real government wouldn't do it. But then something, normally weird things never happen to me, but then this did, and still is going on. And in Europe right now, they're actually looking into it, the United Nations, as an actual crime and it's actually reached the United Nations. So they've been aware of it for years, and it's been coming out of the woodwork. They don't know how to cover it up because they can't cover it up. Same with the United States, because if they already have the 2011 and 2012 Targeted Individual Conference at the White House, run by Amy Goodman with Dr. Christine Grady, Anthony Fauci's wife, and other doctors and presidents of universities. You can see them on bioethics.gov or James Lyko, 131 Kimber, or 2012 Target Individual Evidence. But anyway, you can find this stuff. And for people who are targeted individuals, we just notice that there's similarities also between this pandemic that the rest of the world is going through and Dr. Fauci's thing about this. Seems like it's a stretching this whole thing process, information and disinformation being spread out over the long run, whether waiting for a vaccine. And I didn't know much, but a debate on vaccines to look into is the son of Robert Kennedy Jr., having a discussion or a debate with Alan Dershowitz, the lawyer. And it seems almost more like an interview than a debate, but the thing that you can find out about vaccines is that you cannot, since 1993 or 94, the vaccine companies that make vaccines can no longer be sued for something like somebody getting sick. They can't sue the drug maker for making a vaccine. They don't call a vaccine a medical. They call it a biological. They don't call it a medicine. And this was something that Robert Kennedy said. I just found this out. So it's not like I'm smart on this. It's something I just watched a debate on. So you can look it up. Him versus Alan Dershowitz. So that you can't sue, and also they don't do drug trials in the sense of having what are they called? Saltwater pills, placebos. They don't do placebo tests. So they don't have studies like that comparing this vaccine with placebos to see, because normally pandemics or vaccines, it's because like with polio, they need to get something quick because something happened and it's a quick thing, and they're trying to just push a quick cure. They're trying to do some studies, they're trying to figure it out, but they don't have time to see if it's perfect, like 3 or 4 or 5 years. They're trying to solve people now. The only problem is that sometimes people will get injured because they're trying to solve it quick. This one is called Operation Warp Speed because they're trying to get people, healthy now, and they don't have 4 or 5 years to wait for hundreds of thousands of people to die. The only problem is this vaccine, because it's not been validated to the degree that normal medicines would be. Therefore, you can't sue people, the maker, for it, and so they're not doing these placebo trials, and you can't sue the maker 15 or 20 years down the road, kind of like for autism or something like that. Anyway, I'll try to figure out some more stuff. So, but just keep some of this in mind. It sounds too crazy to be true, but I'm guaranteeing this is a real thing. I would encourage you to look up Ella Free. And the first meeting was I think, in Massachusetts, the Unity and Hope Conference. The second one was in Sacramento. The one last year was in Portland, Oregon, for Freedom for Targeted Individuals.com, I believe. And it might be. So it's important that I don't want to ever slander anybody, certainly not doctors, but I just noticed that they could be trying to get to the very bottom, and maybe they are trying to get to the bottom and, solve it. But when I just noticed, it's also a weird thing that they are very smart people. They're wonderfully brilliant, smart people. And you just notice that this has been going on for years. and you just wish to see more official hearing of what's going on from the government when it comes to the targeted individual process. Are they trying to break it? Well, at least in the um, European Union or United Nations is looking into it right now, actually, I should say. So, anyway, I'll talk to you again. And if you're interested in looking at other TI sites, I would look up again Ella Free. Vulcan Wolverine is a good chat. Uh, Wayne is good. There's quite a few, so I would just target individuals, V2K, and you'll find a lot of good things out there. Freedom for target individuals, targeted harassment, gang stalking. You look up these keywords. Targeted in Massachusetts is a good one, Frank Allen. So, anyway, I'll talk to you later.